Monday, February 7th, 2022, Maneco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Carbon neutrality. Yes, it's a policy, it's a climate change policy in the EU and also in China. And I spoke about this back in the beginning of September last year, 6 months ago. And I said carbon neutrality will mean a cold and miserable winter for Europeans. And I'm not talking about this just to tell you, I told you so. We've seen how energy prices have been going up across Europe, across the UK. Of course, in the UK, it's been mitigated because of the price caps, but it's coming through in about 2 months' time, or just less than 2 months. But what this carbon neutrality is doing as well, it's increasing costs for producers, for energy suppliers in other countries. And when the price of energy goes up, everything goes up as well. And of course, there is the inflationary effect of, well, almost 14 years now of unhinged monetary policy. That's coming home to roost as well. But this carbon neutrality aspect of the energy crisis will make sure that people here in the UK, or consumers, the public in Europe, and even in China and other countries, because the energy markets are not isolated in each country. They trade worldwide in a free open market, well, kind of free. So it's going to make sure not just energy prices are going to stay elevated, but also the cost of living is going to stay elevated. It's going to keep rising. And I see as well that politicians and governments now are focusing on the Ukraine. Big headline in the FT this morning says EU seeks to curb gas costs. And by gas, I mean natural gas. Americans think of gas as gasoline. This is gas. If Ukraine crisis hits energy supplies, yes, that's another problem as well. I still don't think there will be a war over there in the Ukraine. I still don't think that the Russians want to invade the Ukraine. It's not about that. But they're going to use this crisis as well as a cover for this climate change, carbon neutral policy of emitting carbon permits. So as I spoke about this on my video from September last year, and I recommend maybe you watch it as well. It's basically like charging people to breathe. In this case, it's charging businesses and companies that need to use a lot of energy. Usually it's carbon-based energy, or fossil fuels as they call it, like oil, diesel, natural gas. Natural gas, of course, has the least carbon emissions, but it's still a fossil fuel, and coal especially for China. And yes, this has been going on for many years, and it's starting to culminate. If you look at this policy, carbon emission trading, and you go through the history here, Wikipedia says, the international community began the long process towards building effective international and domestic measures to tackle GHG emissions, carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide, hydrofluorocarbons, and so on, in response to the increasing assertions that global warming is happening due to man-made emissions and uncertainty over its likely consequences. The process began in Rio de Janeiro in 1992 when 160 countries agreed to the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. Well, a lot of you know how I feel about this. The bankers really set this up, the bankers that run the UN as well. And I've done videos about this. I'm going to put one up in the cards. There's a gentleman from the US, George Hunt, who used to be in the environmental business. He's passed away. And he's talked about how people like the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, they're all involved in this. And I spoke about how back in 2005, when I worked for a major futures broker, MF Global, we were involved in helping produce these carbon emission futures. And at the time, I thought, well, this is just another big scam. And even though a lot of the companies have been given these free carbon emissions, they've been given it for free. They've had some windfall profits from it, but the US doesn't use this. It's mainly China and the European Union. So it says here, and unfortunately the UK, we've left the EU, but we're still running this policy. So it says the European Union emission trading scheme is the largest multinational greenhouse gas emission trading scheme in the world. After voluntary trials in the UK and Denmark, phase 1 began operation in January 2005, with all 15 member states of the European Union participating. So up until 2021, this was working okay. Some of the companies in the EU, they were even profiting from it because they were being given these carbon permissions for free, and they were cashing them in the market. It's called the EUA futures. It's traded on the ICE exchange, which was set up by Goldman Sachs, owned by the major bankers, BlackRock, all those same people, of course. But market trend. So it says here, carbon emissions trading increased rapidly in 2021 with the start of the Chinese National Carbon Trading Scheme. The increasing cost of permits on the EU ETS have had the effect of increasing cost of coal power. I would say also the cost of natural gas and everything else related to fossil fuels, any kind of energy, of course, that is considered a GHG. And it's not just energy companies that have to pay for this. Any big factories or that use energy. So back in September, when I spoke about this first, these carbon emission futures, they were already going through the roof. They had gone from trading below 10 on this chart here. I mean, up until the beginning of 2018, they'd never been above 10. Then they moved higher. And then back in 2021, they broke out through 30. And then they doubled by September, almost up to 60. They stabilized there a little bit. And look at where we're now, and we're almost at 100. So it's gone from under 10 years ago, and it's gone up tenfold. And that is definitely going to affect the cost of energy. It's going to affect the cost of living. And I think some companies will get windfall, but this is basically wrecking the whole energy sector, I would say. But it's making it very expensive for consumers. And that's why I don't see things improving in terms of the cost of living. Of course, there's also the monetary aspect and fiscal aspect of things, which doesn't help. But you never hear anyone talking about these carbon emissions prices. And it's interesting that when China got involved in this in 2021, the price has started going through the roof. So, yeah, what can we do about this? Well, maybe try to expose this. Maybe try to share this video and let people know about this, that it's not just, well, actually, Russia hasn't really limited gas supplies to Europe. They've sold what they've set out to do contractually. So when you hear people saying that Putin and his natural gas policy are to blame for the energy crisis, think again and maybe let people know about something that very few people know about, that we're actually paying for carbon, or the major businesses that supply us with everything really now, because it impacts everything. So with that, let's quickly look at where the markets are this morning. It's just before 9 a.m. London time. So we've got spot gold at 1813.30. It's up just over $6 or 1/3%. High has been 1815, and the low has been 1805. So we're still within a range here in gold, below and above 1800. Really now, the key level is the recent high we had earlier this year, just above 1850. We saw from the Commitment of Traders report, some people were reporting it this Friday, that the shorts and the commercials, they're covering their net short positions, and they did so in the last reporting week by 48,000 contracts, or 20%. And we'll have to wait until Friday this week to see what they did from Tuesday to the end of last week, because it's always a week behind these numbers. But I suspect they're still covering. And this is why we see this up and down around 800. The market, they cover, and then the market goes down and they cover again, and back and forth. And the people who are going short are the specs, like the funds. And they usually lose this game against the commercials. So we'll need to wait and see. Silver is up 28 cents, or just over 1%, 1.25% at 22.80. High's been 88 and the low 22.50. The Dow futures down 50 points. The NASDAQ futures down 13, and the S&P is down 5. So fairly quiet stock markets right now. The FTSE 100 future is up 0.5%, 75.45. To the currencies, sterling is up 1/8 at 135.40. It did get hit quite hard on Friday, so it's just rebounding a little bit here. The euro is down 1/8 at 114.34. I think we got to that 114.85 on Friday. I think the high was just at that level. Overnight, the high's been 74. I'm still looking at that level. If we go through that, it could be still even more bullish for the euro. Right now, we could still, in the short term, see a little bit of downside, as we've gone up quite a bit in the last week or so. The dollar's down 1/8 versus the yen at 115.06, and the dollar is unchanged versus the yuan at 636.17. Aussie dollar, let's see where the Aussie dollar is. It's up 0.4 at 71.03. The dollar's down 1/3 versus the loonie, or the Canadian dollar, 127.20. And the Kiwi dollar is up 1/4 at 66.35. To the general commodities, WTI crude is down 93 cents, or just about 1%, at 90.25. High-grade copper is down 0.5%, 4.46. The carbon emissions future, which I spoke about earlier in the video, that's down about 1.8%. It's at 94.71. I expect this to break 100 very soon, and it's going to make things a lot worse. And I guess if I'm wrong about the Ukraine and there is some kind of skirmish and conflict between the West, Russia, and China, because I think China is 100% behind Russian policy as it pertains to the old Warsaw Pact countries and their relationship to NATO. This is what it's all about. Putin doesn't want NATO on his doorstep, just like America wouldn't like the Russians or the Warsaw Pact in Mexico, Canada, or Cuba. So anyway, quickly look at the bond market. The 10-year yield this morning has drifted off a little bit. It's down 2.5 basis points at around 191. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button. Please share it far and wide. Think about subscribing to my channel if you haven't yet. And you can also follow me on Rumble, Twitter, Facebook, and all these other platforms below here. I wish you all a great day. Take care. Bye.